What's going on, Dream Chasers? We are back for another episode of the Dream ChaseHer podcast. This is the place where hopes, dreams, ambitions, and money-making business ideas are birthed. I'm Jennifer Hammock, your host of this podcast, but also of the Dream Chaser Conference, where we are helping women like you who are new in business. You have ideas, you have dreams that you want to see realized, and we want to make sure that all those self-limiting beliefs are removed and that you get not only the inspiration but the information that you need to make your dreams realized. So I'm really excited about our conversation today. We have a very special guest that I can't wait to introduce you to, but before I bring her on, I wanted to just chat with you. I wanted to have a little Jen's Corner chat with you. And what was on my heart as we are going with the theme of go for it, that's the theme of the conference, go for it. I'm thinking about the insecurities that keep us stuck. Can I speak for myself? Let me not put this on you. Let me not project, okay? The insecurities that have kept me stuck, okay, from pushing forward in the things that I know God has called me to do. And I understand where you are because, again, I've been there before. Really just over-analyzing yourself, trying to paint the perfect picture to escape rejection. Let me say that again. We try to paint the perfect picture to escape rejection. And we think that things have to be so perfect so people will accept it and love it. But the truth of the matter is when we show up as our true selves, doing exactly what God has called us to do, we'll see that every step that we take, we are then being perfected. Things come together. Things get clearer. Things get better. But it never gets better until we actually start. And so I want to just encourage you with whatever insecurity that you are dealing with right now. You might not like the way that you sound when you speak. That used to be me. I used to cringe when I would watch back my videos or the things I would put on social media and just hear my voice. I'm like, oh, like Jen, just over analyzing yourself. So we got to stop that, okay? We got to just cheer ourselves on and say, we're doing the best that we can where we're at with what we have. I feel like I should say that again for somebody. We are doing the best we can with what we have and where we are at. And I think we forget that this is a marathon. This is not a sprint, but it's a marathon. And as we have that marathon mindset to endure, to, pace ourselves, to, train for the race, to have maybe some cheerleaders in specific areas and zones where we know we're going to get fatigue or it's about to be an uphill battle to cheer us on, we'll be able to cross that finish line. So I just want you to be encouraged with that. Okay, Dream Chasers? All right. So I want to bring on now our special guest for today. I believe, without a doubt, that she has something special that she is bringing to this world, something that is needed. Our guest today is Claudia Walker. She is a former principal and author of the best-selling book series, The ABCs of HBCU. And it's so crazy. I first found out about Claudia via social media. And we'll talk about that a little bit more because a lot of you guys are hiding and no one can find you because you're not showing up. But we'll talk about that a little later. But Claudia, she is, like I said, an Oakland-based author, speaker, and former principal, and a proud second-generation HBCU graduate. As a teacher, Claudia would share stories of life at Spelman and previous experience working on Wall Street. She quickly realized that many of her students had never been exposed to the Black colleges or even to the world of investing. Her best-selling book series, The ABCs of HBCU and The ABCs of Black Wall Street, were inspired by her undergraduate experience at Spelman and as a student in the Atlanta University Center. Her and her family also launched HBCU Prep School in 2020, a multimedia education company that amplifies Black history and financial literacy through children's book. And in January 2023, both books, not one, but both books were featured in Target stores as a part of their Black History Month collection. And so I can't wait for you to meet Claudia and for us both to dive into this conversation that's really going to inspire you. So without further ado, allow me to introduce you to Claudia.
That was an amazing introduction. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here and to talk to you.
No, I'm really excited to be able to sit down with you. I think it was May of last year, the last time that we were actually in person together conversating. But it's always so great to stay connected and see all of what you're doing via social media, and just knowing that you are a light. What you're doing is so necessary, and I hope that I know your family is proud of you and what you guys are all doing collectively. So what a journey. I kind of figure like all of those different pieces, it's so much. It's like, where do we start? But it's evident when you look at the bigger picture, it seemed as though God perfectly crafted your path. What would you say has been your driving force in HBCU, the book series, and all of what you're doing right
Um, Honestly, it's been legacy.
now?
I would so often just like sit and say, as a parent, you think about like what's the impact that I'm leaving with my children on a daily basis, and as they grow up, and even when I'm not around, like what will they say about me? And so that was a bit of the driving the motivation, and also my students. But honestly, I for a long time, I felt like I had this life and I had this career, whether it was on Wall Street, people thought I was crazy for leaving, and then in education. And I felt like there was so much more that God had purposed me for, and I just couldn't figure it out. But it was nagging at me, because I knew that there were so many gifts that I had that I just wasn't sharing with the world. So I think that was one of the biggest driving or the motivators for me in launching HBCU prep school. And can I say something?
Yes, please.
So while you were talking to all of the dream chasers, God reminded me, and you were talking about some of our own insecurities. And for me, I'm like a really introverted, um,
Mhm.
like shy person. I have a gift of public speaking, so you can put me in front of a crowd of 10,000 and I'm gonna come to life. Like that is a gift that I have, and it was actually developed in the church when I was, young growing up. But it's, I can be in front of a crowd of 10,000, but I'm still really shy. So
Yeah.
doesn't, for some people, it's like, how is that? But anyhow, so before I started this journey, this really started in 2020.
Mhm.
Because in 2019, like December 30th, 2019, I was like, God, I was looking at a list of things I had wanted. It was like a life list. I don't believe in bucket lists. I'm like a life list, like
Yeah.
things I want to do in my life. And I looked at it and I had done like one out of
Mhm.
like 30 things that I had. And I was like, God, I don't know. I just feel like every year I have these plans,
Mhm.
and I don't accomplish any of them. And I felt really like down about it. And so at on January 1st, 2020, I decided that I was going to do a new thing every day, every single day. Um,
Mhm.
it could be big, it could be little, and I didn't have any social media presence. And I started my own personal social Instagram page just to hold myself accountable. And I posted what I was doing. Well, bam, I found you on social media. I don't think I even knew that you were from Oakland, but I just remember that you were um, giving a lot of like inspiration. And I want to say like you would talk about Bible study, and I might have done like a Bible study, but I followed you, and you were like one of the first people that really like inspired and motivated me.
Wow.
And then I was at Target one day in
Uh-huh.
the hair aisle, and I heard your voice. And I
Mhm.
was like, that's that lady. That's Lady Hammock. And you were with your daughter. And I was so like intimidated to even like say anything to you. But like it's just a full circle moment.
Yeah.
Because one, we're having this conversation. We was talking a little bit about Target. We're talking about insecurities. And so it's amazing that I didn't feel confident enough to speak to you then, but we're having this conversation now.
Look at God.
Look at God. Right.
Look at God. Look at God. Oh my goodness. I just love him and how he puts everything together. I have this saying that I always say that destiny leaves clues.
For sure.
Like sometimes we're wondering like, oh, what it is that we should be doing. Like, what is it? Destiny leaves clues. And what do I mean by that? If we look back over our life, this is something that I help my clients when we're coaching. It's like these little pebbles, when the kids were lost, it's like, oh, just put the little Cheerios down and you can find your way back. And so throughout our lives, there's little pebbles that are dropped from, the experiences that we have had, the aha moments that we have had, which are all coming together. And so as you talk about, you obviously went to Spelman. Obviously was it your mom or your grandmother or who else?
Yeah.
Your mom. Okay. Your mom went to Spelman. So it's that legacy there. And it's like, okay, what can I do next? It's always encourage people to think about what are all those pieces that you feel like has nothing to do with anything, but they have everything to do with everything.
Right. That's right.
Everything to do with everything. And so I say that to kind of and you brought it up, so we might as well go there for a second. In that 2020, and everyone listening, I need you guys to listen to this, okay? You said to yourself, you came to a moment, right? So you know what? I need to be accountable. I need to for real do this thing. And 2020 is when you said, you know what, I'm going to start this journey. And it is 2023 and you have a book series that was in Target, baby.
Yeah.
Target, where we spent $500 because we went in to just get some toothpaste.
Yeah, right.
So this is the question, and congratulations on that. We want to hear all the tea on that. But before we even get to the tea, I think the thing that is most important for the listeners to walk away with is, in what ways were you prepared for that opportunity? Because I feel like sometimes we have these goals to do these different things. And I believe the word says when we're faithful over few, he will make us ruler over many. So can you maybe share if it was anything throughout the process, maybe leading up to that moment where you feel like, okay, I'm ready for this. And so it was a no-brainer.
Yeah, well, I think there are two things. So when I launched the company in my first book, I wanted to, and when I started working with the illustrator, she asked me a question. She said, send me, what do you want these books to look like? Send me some examples of some books that you love. And so I sent her some, and then she sent over some sample book cover illustrations, and literally they looked like they could be on a bookshelf. And so it was making sure that the book looked professional. Just because it's self-published and I'm, doing this in, my home office doesn't mean that it has to look like I'm doing it in my home office. Right. And so it's making sure that it looks professional. I also really I truly believe that this was an assignment that I was meant to do. And so a lot of self-published authors will use something called print on demand, which is great. Print on demand allows you to be able to not, have your garage looking like mine with boxes and boxes of books. It allows your customers to be able to order, place an order for 5 books. And then whatever print company that you're with, they print those 5 books. So you don't have to have any inventory. But I think if I had gone that route, I would have been scrambling trying to fulfill Target's order. So because my first run was 1,000 books, I was like, I could sell these 1,000 books. I'm a hustler to make sure I sell them. And so I was already familiar with working with overseas companies, China, with customs. And so that really helped me be ready to go into retail because I was already familiar with that process of ordering in large quantities.
Gotcha.
So I say that. And then the final thing is I posted a video a couple months ago. My daughter and I we do this girls trip to LA every summer, and we drove. And on the way, I intentionally took I only had 1 book at the time. So this might have been 2021.
Okay.
And on the way back from Oakland to LA, I stopped at a Target and took my book in and put
Mhm.
it on the shelf at
Mhm.
Target stores, making sure that like the little price sign that says $6.99, that ain't where my book is gonna go because it's $6.99. Like, let me,
Right.
where's the 19? Okay. And
There you go.
because I really believed that
Mhm.
my book was going to be on Target shelves.
Mm.
Really, intentional about it and listening to the voice of God,
Yes.
and doing things that sometimes you feel crazy, like
Absolutely.
looking at me.
What's she doing? Bringing in her book, putting it on a Target shelf.
Right, exactly. Is she stealing? I just saw her take a book off the shelf and walk out with it. And so I think it was those things that really prepared me to be ready for
Yes.
retail.
Yes, I love it. I love it. Investing in your brand, not being afraid to invest, seeing yourself where you should be in your future, even though you might be somewhere totally different in your present. And I love this about this type of, faith walking is that it doesn't cost you anything.
No,
Like, what did it cost you to walk into a Target and put your book on the shelf? It cost you nothing.
nothing.
Nothing. And God always, words talk about all you need is a faith the size of a mustard seed. It's just small to be like, okay, I believe. And so, if no one else is going to believe in your brand, like you have to
Yeah,
believe in your brand.
that's
Okay,
right.
you don't have to wait till everyone else gets on the train and the hype and everything. Just go for what you know is where you are. And can you maybe just walk us through the process? Because you obviously have a whole book series, but like, where did it start? Because again, people see things and they be like, oh my gosh, like I could never X, Y, and Z. But it's like, hey, I started with just this right here. Matter of fact, as you were saying that answer, I'm going to show you one of my first products if I can find it. And it's a CD. So that's how you know it's old, okay? But answer that question for me.
Right. So it just started with a book. I did not have any plans to create this education company.
Hmm.
I just wanted to write a book about Black colleges because, my children, we live here in California and we don't have a lot of access or exposure to HBCUs. And so I just wanted the book to really be an ode to Black colleges. And I started writing it, I don't even know, maybe 2018, a long time ago. And just, it was in a Google Drive folder somewhere, and life happened. And then in the midst of the pandemic, probably around March 2020, I just picked it back up because I knew, again, this was in the midst of me doing a new thing every day.
Yes.
And it was really just getting me in motion, even in the midst of the pandemic. It was like,
Right.
okay, be creative in the new things that you could be doing. And so I finished it up, and once I released it, I just, based off of the feedback that I got, I just realized there was such a market and there were more things that I could do. And again, I'm a teacher at heart, and I was homeschooling. We were all homeschooling our kids. I don't care if your kids were in,
Right.
a
Right.
private school where you were paying, you were still homeschooling your
Yeah.
child. So
Absolutely.
I think for a lot of parents, we were like, okay, what can I do? How can I get creative? How can I, they're only on Zoom like 2 hours a day. Like, what are some other things I can do? And so that really inspired me to continue to create. And God was just downloading. I mean, like literally when I got done with the ABCs of HBCUs, he was like Black Wall Street. And I was like, what?
Mm.
When I just started researching, and I probably finished that project, writing it in maybe 2 weeks. Um,
Wow.
and so, yeah, it was just starting with one thing because if I had been able to see all of this, I probably would have been paralyzed. I would have been like, oh, there's no way, but it's just starting with one project, one idea, one page.
Yep. There you have it. So I found it, y'all. I don't know if y'all can see
Oh,
it. This is,
do you sing? What?
so it's actually a devotional. It's a no, I do not sing. Okay, let me answer that real quick. No. Okay. My C note sound like a D note. Okay. But
Me and
it's
you both.
but no, it's actually a audio devotional so that you can listen
Nice.
to it. So instead of like reading your devotional, it's
Yes.
audio. But it came with a book as well, with a journal.
Oh,
So people see like the book and all of the stuff. Like it started with just
yep,
that's it. So just
yep,
start where you are at the end of
that's
the
right.
day. But real quick, I wanted to quickly ask you the question about making the pivot. I heard Wall Street, I heard teacher, we've heard principal, now author. Um, one quick answer or word of advice can you give somebody that's scared to like leave what they've been identified by? I
Mm,
feel like that's the thing that keeps people so like on a hook and not moving forward in the dream that really God has called them to, because they for so long has been identified by being this person, this thing, this title, and to actually step into something else is like a that imposter syndrome comes
yeah,
up. Like, girl, who do you think you are? You are a principal. You are a Wall Street person.
right.
So how was it for you in making that pivot, letting go of those, and that's if you had that experience, letting go of those voices or whatnot? How was that pivot experience for you?
Um, Difficult
Hmm.
because so I'm a person or was a person who really suffered from, um, if God showed me a vision, I needed to get it like co-signed by my
Hmm.
entire camp, you know. And what I realized is oftentimes the vision that God gives you doesn't make sense to other people.
Absolutely.
And so when you're waiting for them to, affirm this vision, it like you may be what you that may be the thing that paralyzes you and keeps you stuck. And so in me moving into this season, I had to just like, even if my husband was like, nah, I don't think if in my heart it
Hmm.
and in my like belly it felt like
Hmm.
the right thing, I needed to be okay
Yeah.
with just moving forward and not waiting for man to
Hmm.
approve, because as you know, sometimes it's not until everything comes together that people are like, I always knew that it was I always knew. I used to no, you didn't, And it's not a bad thing. It's not necessarily about people being haters. It's just that people can't see
Right.
this vision that God has given you. And I think sometimes it's because He's like, yeah, if I had showed it to them, then you would have been comfortable. You would have been listening to them, like
Yeah.
you, and then you give other people credit, like my best friend, my this they told me. No, they didn't. And so it's that faith walk that you talked about. And so it really is just listening to the voice of God and being. And if I know that He's given me this direction, then I need to be comfortable with just moving forward.
Absolutely.
Nobody else understands it.
Absolutely. I'm not familiar with exactly where it is in scripture, but it says, my thoughts are not your thoughts, my ways are not your ways. And so sometimes God will give us a vision, instructions that are literally unfathomable, but we have to remember that He is all the way up here seeing eons ahead of us. So it's not about knowing, having understanding, but having trust.
That's right.
Like, I heard you, I don't understand, but
Yeah.
I heard you, so I'm gonna just trust this and move forward. And I'm telling you, every year, even when it was time to do this conference, I'm like, Lord, you sure? I can do a whole lot of other things with my time, but
Right.
is this what you really want me to do?
Yeah.
And then, of course, He'll send different things that will confirm that. And in our obedience to His voice for the vision that He has for our lives, we will see how we will be a blessing to so many people, but then also a blessing to our families in
Yeah.
the ways that He wants to provide provision through that vision. He said, I want to bless the work of your hands. Okay, come on here. He wants to see us prosper in the things that we do. So
That's
all
right.
say, listeners, you gotta just obey what He's telling you to do. Push forward. Don't worry about for anybody else co-signing on it. I always say permission slips for when you was in elementary school.
Right. I love it.
You go on this field trip all by you don't need a signature.
That's
Just
right.
go on ahead. Okay?
Love
Just go
that.
on ahead. Just
Yep.
go on ahead. All right. So as we come to a close, I just wanted to ask you one final question. And this is maybe just some advice that you would give to a dream chaser who is just starting out, that is teeter tottering between if she should go forward or not, or maybe this is something that you might have told yourself years ago, that from where you are now. Please tell us, answering from either one of those point of views.
Um, I mean, every day I try to do something that's gonna push me forward.
Gotcha.
And it doesn't have to be big. It
Hmm.
just has to be something that is gonna get me one step closer to my dream.
Yeah.
And I found that, some days are better than others. Some days I feel super inspired. And when I'm feeling really inspired, then I'm able to get a lot done. There's some days where we, not really feeling it, or we're doubting it, or we're tired, or we have other things going on in our lives. But if there's one thing that you can do, whether it's respond to an email, or maybe write, a couple more sentences in your mission statement, or it could be listening to, something that's motivational. So listening to like a devotional, or reading your work, whatever it is that keeps you motivated and keeps you engaged and reminds you of, what the thing is that you're chasing, then you are helping yourself get a step closer to your destiny.
There you have it. There you have it. I love it. And then last question, is there a book, a podcast, a resource that has just been a super help and blessing to you? It can be something tech, it can be something marketing, anything like, oh girl, you gotta check this out.
I would say it always changes. I mean, there's so many things that I listen to, or that I read. I will say, like, I stay on YouTube because I think that you can build a house on YouTube. Okay, you can figure anything out on YouTube. And so, but specifically, I would say when if I look back at the time where I was like really just like in my like super grind mode, I was listening to Social Proof podcast a lot because it has a number of, they always bring on different entrepreneurs.
Yep.
And I think that even if it's not an entrepreneur who's doing the thing that you wanted, that you're doing, there's still some kind of nugget, or like just their grit, their motivation. So I love that one. Um, yeah, I'd say Social Proof podcast was one that I spent a lot of time listening to.
Yeah, David Shands from
Yeah,
Atlanta.
yeah.
It's crazy. It was eons ago. I had worked with him as a coach, and this is a long time ago when he was doing 101s, and it was like only like $100. But a really amazing dude, has a great story, and I'm just really excited that really when we see each other doing different things, that it inspires us to know that we can do it too. And so that's why the HBCU book series is so important. I'm pushing for my kids to go to HBCU as well. Actually, I wanted to go to Spelman, but Spelman didn't have a business school. They were more of like science and liberal arts and that kind of thing. So that's why I didn't end up going to Spelman.
Yeah.
Like, they don't have a business
I
school.
know.
They don't have a training. So,
I know. Yeah.
needless to say, well, maybe Jayla will help me out on that.
Yes.
No, well, thank you so much, Claudia, for being a guest today. I wish you all the best. How can people connect with you? We got to know how to get these books, how to what's happening.
So my website is hbcuprepschool.com. And then we are HBCU Prep School on most social media platforms. I'm most active on Instagram, though.
Gotcha. Well, we'll have all of the notes, all of her handles, links, and stuff in the show notes below, so you can check those out and follow her. Get her books in your children's libraries. Give them as gifts for Christmas. Put them in their little Easter basket too.
Yep.
Birthdays, all those different things, so they can see images of themselves in higher education and in investing. Actually, I think I got the printouts of the flashcards.
Oh yeah, the flashcards. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember teaching Jay on our Acorn. A is for Acorn.
Yeah.
But no, such great creativity. We'll have to have you back on more, and we can talk a little bit more about just the business ideas, creativity, and what you do to get your juices going. But thank you so much, Claudia, for being on today.
Thank you for having me.
No, all right now. Dream Chasers, I hope that you guys enjoyed that interview, and that you enjoyed the entire episode. Make sure that you subscribe and that you share this episode with someone else that is going to really inspire them and give them the nuggets that they need to push forward. Now, we are just a few weeks away from the Dream ChaseHer conference, and I'm really excited about one of our sponsors, Tamika Christie, who is an author. And I know we talked a lot about books, and I know many of you out there want to get your books written and published. And so Tamika Christie, she is an award-winning author. She helps other aspiring authors get their ideas off the ground by providing a boot camp for aspiring entrepreneurs. So please check out her information at tamikachristie.com. All right. Well, thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope that you were inspired. I hope you learned something, and I hope that you were pushed even that more closer to seeing your dream realized. It's Jennifer Hammock here. Happy, blessed, honored to be your host here, and I'll see you next time.